The real I'd, a reflection of the hidden truths of the human mind. Have you ever experienced a moment when your mind, without any control, vividly presented the harshest and most unsettling possibilities to you? Or perhaps, in the silence of your thoughts, you were unexpectedly and unreservedly reminded of a long-suppressed desire? These moments bring forth a part of the mind that operates beyond what we consciously choose to show or even believe about ourselves. It is a voice of inner truth, but is it an independent entity or merely a reflection of our experiences and awareness? Imagine an individual awaiting the results of a medical examination. Their mind relentlessly rehearses every possible scenario. It could be cancer. Perhaps you have only a few years left to live. Where does this inner voice originate? Is it the essence of humanity that we often seek to avoid? Or is it a profound realism that only emerges when we find ourselves incapable of facing the truth directly? At the same time, this part of the mind is not solely preoccupied with painful truths. Occasionally, amidst the routine of daily life, it reminds us of a repressed longing. This is what you truly want, even if you've never allowed yourself to think about it. Is this the reflection of our authentic self, hidden behind the masks of societal and moral conventions? Or is it a voice that surfaces only in the absence of conscious control? One might argue that this part of the mind, whatever its nature, is deeply connected to our awareness, experiences, and even our intellectual and physical growth. During childhood, this voice is almost silent, as it lacks the necessary knowledge and experience to process complexities. However, as one confronts the realities of life over time, this voice becomes more pronounced and sophisticated. In today's world, with the pervasive presence of social media and global connectivity, this voice acts faster than ever, utilizing stories, information, and the experiences of others to reveal truths that we might otherwise ignore. But does this real ID function uniformly across all individuals? Do the reflective and intellectually aware grapple with it more than others? And is this part of the mind merely a critic, or can it serve as a tool for discovering our true selves? This article embarks on a journey into this unexplored domain of the human mind, a realm that sometimes terrifies us, sometimes brings us joy, and always confronts us with the truth of who we are. Connecting to psychological theories, from Freud's id to Jung's shadow. To better understand this concept, it is essential to examine it through the lens of psychological theories. Sigmund Freud, the founder of psychoanalysis, divided the human psyche into three primary components: the id, the ego, and the superego. 1. The id. The id is the source of primal instincts and unconscious desires, driven by the pleasure principle. It seeks immediate gratification without concern for morality or reality. For example, when one feels hunger, the id demands immediate satisfaction, regardless of external circumstances. 2. The ego. The ego serves as a mediator between the id and the external world, employing reason to satisfy the id's desires in a realistic and socially acceptable manner. 3. The superego. The superego represents internalized societal norms and moral values, acting as the conscience that guides and restrains human behavior. However, the real id transcends the boundaries of Freud's id. While Freud's id focuses solely on primal urges, the real id acts as an unfiltered mirror of hidden truths, internal realities, and individual experiences. Unlike the static and instinctive nature of the Freudian id, the real id evolves alongside an individual's growth and awareness. Carl Gustav Jung, another pioneer of psychological thought, introduced the concept of the shadow, a part of the unconscious mind containing traits and desires that individuals suppress or deny. Jung believed that the shadow, though often perceived negatively, is essential for self-discovery and personal growth. While the real id shares certain similarities with Jung's shadow, such as revealing suppressed desires, its scope extends further by actively engaging with an individual's awareness and reflecting not only repressed instincts, but also harsh realities and hidden aspirations. Why the name Real ID? The term Real ID was chosen to encapsulate the essence of this concept for several reasons. 1. A reflection of reality. The real ID serves as an unfiltered mirror, reflecting the mental and emotional realities of an individual, whether they are painful truths or suppressed desires. 2. Dynamic and analytical. Unlike the static nature of Freud's id and Jung's shadow, The real ID interacts with the individual's growth and experiences, adapting and providing nuanced analyses of their inner and outer realities. 3. Beyond instincts. While the Freudian ID is primarily instinctual, the real ID draws upon personal knowledge, experience, and even the influence of modern media to construct a realistic and comprehensive picture of one's inner world. A bridge between classic theories and modern realities. The real ID represents a novel perspective that bridges the gap between classical psychological theories and the realities of contemporary life. By revealing instincts, desires, fears, and truths, this concept provides individuals with an opportunity to confront their authentic selves. In this article, we aim to delve deeper into the essence of the real ID, analyze its impact on human behavior, and explore its role in modern society and personal growth. The real ID is a concept that seems to offer a way to understand some of the hidden dimensions of the human mind. This idea suggests that within the mind, there is a part that reflects both bitter and sweet realities, repressed desires, and even unexpected possibilities back to the individual. Unlike Freud's id, which is static and instinct-driven, the real id appears to be dynamic and capable of evolving alongside an individual's awareness and experiences. It appears that the real ID may have the following characteristics. Reflection of realities. This part of the mind seems to function as an unfiltered mirror, presenting truths and possibilities to the individual, whether they are pleasant or difficult to confront. Dynamic nature. The real ID may not remain fixed. Instead, it seems to develop in complexity as a person grows intellectually and physically, gaining new experiences and insights. Analytical capability. Unlike the Freudian E, which operates purely on instincts, the real ID appears to draw from a person's accumulated knowledge and experiences to analyze situations and present various possibilities. To clarify how the real ID manifests in everyday life, let's explore a few hypothetical scenarios. Example 1. Imagine an individual awaiting the results of a medical examination. Their mind, influenced by the real ID, starts running through scenarios, including the worst-case outcomes like a life-threatening illness. This internal voice forces the person to confront the very fears they might otherwise avoid. Example 2. Consider someone in a seemingly stable marriage who, deep down, harbors feelings for another person. The real ID may remind them of these hidden emotions, creating internal conflict by bringing repressed desires to the surface. Example 3. In today's media-saturated world, a person might encounter an overwhelming amount of information through films, news, or social media. The real ID processes these external influences, creating complex analyses or predictions that may amplify anxieties or highlight potential opportunities. These examples illustrate how the real ID operates beyond instinct, drawing upon both internal and external factors to reflect the realities of one's thoughts, fears, and desires. Comparing the real ID to existing concepts. The real ID can be loosely compared to Freud's id and Jung's shadow, but it also diverges significantly from these established concepts. In relation to Freud's id focuses on primal instincts and unconscious drives, seeking immediate gratification without regard for reality. In contrast, the real id seems capable of offering deeper insights into reality, reflecting not only instincts, but also truths shaped by experience and awareness. In relation to Jung's shadow deals primarily with repressed traits and unconscious aspects of the self that are often denied. While the real ID shares similarities with the shadow in revealing suppressed elements of the psyche, it seems to extend beyond this by engaging more directly with consciousness and reflecting external realities as well. These comparisons are exploratory and intended to situate the concept of the real ID within existing psychological frameworks, without claiming definitive equivalence or superiority. The real ID, as a proposed concept, might serve as a tool for understanding the interplay between the conscious and unconscious mind. It highlights how the mind may process both internal desires and external realities, offering a more comprehensive perspective on the self. This exploration invites further investigation into how such a concept could be integrated into psychological and philosophical discussions, potentially opening new pathways for self-awareness and growth. The connection between the real ID, personal growth, and environmental influences. The real ID is a concept that seems deeply intertwined with the intellectual, physical, and experiential growth of an individual. Unlike static and instinct-driven structures such as Freud's ID, the real ID evolves throughout a person's life, offering increasingly sophisticated analyses and adapting to the individual's environment and access to information. What sets the real ID apart is its dynamic nature, reflecting not just realities, but also drawing from one's awareness and experiences to uncover hidden layers of the mind, taking on a unique role at each stage of life. The real ID across different stages of life. Childhood, a stage of dormancy. During childhood, the real ID operates at a basic and instinctive level. The child, lacking sufficient awareness and experience, is unable to process complex realities. At this stage, the real ID is relatively passive and focuses primarily on basic instincts and immediate environmental reactions. Adolescence, a stage of awakening and conflict. As individuals enter adolescence, the real ID becomes more active. This phase, characterized by identity crises, intense emotions, and curiosity about the world, marks a turning point where the real ID begins to surface, repressed fears, desires, and rudimentary analyses of circumstances. Adolescents may frequently experience inner conflicts as their real ID highlights contradictions between societal expectations and personal aspirations. Adulthood, a stage of analysis and decision-making. In adulthood, the real ID transforms into a complex tool capable of analyzing desires, fears, and various possibilities with greater precision. This stage often involves grappling with deeper and more challenging aspects of life, such as setting meaningful goals, making critical decisions, and reflecting on relationships. The real ID not only mirrors these realities, but at times even plans ways to address them. Old age, a stage of evaluation and acceptance. In later years, the real ID often shifts its focus toward evaluating the past and preparing for inevitable truths, such as mortality. At this stage, it may compel individuals to confront questions of meaning and purpose, while also bringing to light long-buried fears or regrets. Environmental influences on the real ID. The role of media, a catalyst for the real ID. Modern media plays a pivotal role in shaping and accelerating the real ID. With access to vast amounts of information, images, and narratives, individuals are exposed to indirect experiences that influence their real ID. For instance, watching a film about illness may prompt the real ID to emphasize worst-case scenarios in similar real-life situations. Seeing others' like success on social media can reignite repressed ambitions or desires within the individual. Social environment, a shaper of the real ID. Family, culture, and societal values significantly shape the functioning of the real ID. In suppressive environments, the real ID may focus more on unearthing repressed desires and unspoken truths. Conversely, in open and supportive environments, it may provide broader and more constructive analyses. Global transformations, accelerating the real ID's function. Rapid social and technological changes have caused the real ID to process information faster and more extensively than ever before. This heightened speed can improve its analytical capabilities, but may also lead to increased anxiety as individuals struggle to keep pace with the influx of information and its implications. The real ID is not a static entity. Rather, it actively interacts with an individual's awareness and experiences. The more knowledgeable and experienced a person becomes, the more sophisticated the real ID's functions become. For example, a person with medical knowledge may have a real ID that generates more accurate and detailed scenarios when facing health concerns. Someone with extensive experience in interpersonal relationships may find their real ID better equipped to analyze patterns and predict outcomes in social interactions. Examples illustrating the real ID's role. To further clarify how the real ID operates in daily life, consider the following scenarios. A person awaiting medical results. The real ID may process potential outcomes, from the mildest to the most severe, compelling the individual to confront their deepest fears about their health. A dissatisfied individual in a stable marriage. While outwardly content, the real ID might surface repressed feelings or desires, creating internal tension as it forces the person to acknowledge hidden emotions. An active social media user. The real ID processes the successes and struggles of others seen online, amplifying personal ambitions or insecurities while analyzing one's own life in comparison. The real ID is a dynamic and multi-layered part of the human mind, evolving alongside individual growth and environmental influences. While it begins as a basic and instinctive entity in childhood, it becomes increasingly complex as awareness and experience expand. In today's rapidly changing world, media and social environments play a profound role in shaping the real ID, making its function both more intricate and more challenging to navigate. Understanding the real ID offers valuable insights into the interplay between our conscious and unconscious selves, providing a deeper perspective on human behavior and decision-making. The impact of the real ID, unveiling the third face of human identity. The real ID can be understood as the manifestation of the third face of a person, a face that remains hidden not only from others, but often from the individual themselves. Unlike the first face, which reflects the public persona visible to everyone, or the second face, which includes the aspects known to the individual, yet intentionally concealed from others, the third face resides entirely within the realm of the real ID. This part of the mind brings forth thoughts, desires, and realities that the individual may lack the courage to acknowledge, the capacity to act upon, or even the awareness to confront consciously. 1. The real ID and its indifference to norms. A defining characteristic of the real ID is its absolute indifference to morality, logic, or societal expectations. It operates as a mirror of the unfiltered truth, reflecting aspects of the self that disregard ethical, emotional, or rational considerations. Key features of this indifference: disregard for morality. The real ID may surface thoughts or desires that appear entirely unethical. For instance, an individual raised in a morally rigid environment might suddenly be confronted by impulses that starkly contrast with their ingrained values. Challenge to logic. This part of the mind may generate thoughts that seem illogical or irrational even to the individual, yet they serve as a reflection of deeper, hidden truths. Neglect of consequences. The real ID does not concern itself with the outcomes of its reflections. It might bring forth ideas or scenarios that provoke anxiety or discomfort, regardless of the potential emotional toll. 2. The third face, a hidden realm of the real ID. The third face of a person exists entirely within the domain of the real ID. It encompasses thoughts, feelings, and desires that remain entirely unconscious to the individual, are too bold or unsettling to be acknowledged or acted upon. Conflict with societal expectations or personal values, leading to their suppression. How the real ID unveils the third face, unconscious thoughts. The real ID often communicates through dreams, fleeting thoughts, or involuntary imaginings that expose hidden layers of the self. Inner conflict. It can create significant tension by surfacing desires or truths that clash with the individual's conscious values or beliefs. Processing hidden information. The real ID uses both conscious and unconscious experiences to construct and reveal this hidden realm. Examples of the real ID's role in the third face. To better illustrate the workings of the real ID and its connection to the third face, consider these scenarios. A dissatisfied spouse. A person who appears to lead a stable marital life may find themselves haunted by the real ID's reminders of unacknowledged desires for another person. Even if they never act on these impulses, the real ID continuously brings them to light. A logical and ethical individual. Someone recognized as highly moral and rational might experience intrusive thoughts of revenge or unethical actions, prompted by the real ID's unfiltered reflections of their suppressed instincts. A patient awaiting test results. An individual facing a serious medical test might find the real ID presenting worst-case scenarios, such as a terminal illness, despite their conscious efforts to remain optimistic. The real ID's hallmark is its ruthless honesty. Unlike other aspects of the mind that filter or adjust thoughts to align with social or moral expectations, the real ID confronts the individual with truths they might avoid or deny, reflects realities that challenge emotional comfort or psychological stability, forces the individual to consider possibilities they would rather not face. The real ID stands as the gatekeeper to the third face of human identity, a realm of unacknowledged truths and unfiltered reflections. It transcends concerns of morality, logic, or consequence, focusing solely on the raw realities of the individual's mind. While its revelations can be unsettling or even frightening, They offer a profound opportunity for deeper self-awareness and exploration of the hidden layers of human identity. The real I'd, as a theoretical concept, may represent the mind's ability to combine awareness, available information, and personal experiences to generate possibilities that extend beyond conscious thought. This part of the mind, unrestrained by logic, ethics, or even conscious fears, appears to create images and scenarios designed to prepare the individual for potential outcomes, both favorable and unfavorable. A tool for reflecting fear and desire. The real I'd seems to operate prominently in moments of uncertainty, such as illness, adversity, or significant decision-making. It appears to reflect not only fears but also hopes, often presenting a spectrum of scenarios that range from comforting to unsettling. An example of real I'd reflection. When someone experiences a headache, the real ID may bring forth a variety of thoughts. This could just be stress and might go away soon. But what if it's a brain tumor? What if surgery is required and it fails? Or perhaps this will lead to a seizure and I might not survive. These reflections appear both realistic and exaggerated, blending factual possibilities with emotionally charged interpretations. The real I'd as a limitless analyzer. Unlike the conscious mind, the real I'd seems to place no restrictions on the nature of its reflections. It disregards conventional filters like logic or morality, focusing instead on presenting unrestrained possibilities. Why this feature is unique. The real I'd does not aim to conform to societal norms or personal comfort. It reveals truths or perceived truths that the individual might not dare to confront consciously. For example, when faced with a challenging situation, the real ID might envision outcomes of failure, success, or even entirely implausible scenarios. The real I'd appears to utilize external information and internal beliefs to shape its reflections. These inputs could be scientific, experiential, or even imaginary, depending on the individual's environment and exposure. In the past, limited knowledge often led the real ID to rely on cultural myths or unscientific beliefs. Example, this headache might be caused by a spirit or a curse. In the present, access to broader and more scientific information allows the real I'd to produce more complex, yet sometimes anxiety-inducing reflections. Example, this headache might be a sign of high blood pressure, a tumor, or a chronic condition. Distinction between the real ID and logical analysis. Unlike logical reasoning, which relies on evidence and systematic thinking, the real ID offers reflections that are immediate, emotional, and unrestricted. While these reflections can inspire action or awareness, they can also create confusion or fear. Characteristics of real I'd reflections. Beyond logical limits, the real ID often generates thoughts that seem illogical or exaggerated. Indifference to psychological impact. It reflects realities regardless of whether they bring comfort or distress. Immediate responses. Unlike logical analysis, which requires deliberation, the real ID offers instantaneous reflections. The real ID, with its unbounded and unfiltered reflections, plays a vital role in how individuals confront uncertainty. By combining existing information with unconscious beliefs, it produces images and scenarios that evoke both fear and hope. While these reflections may be challenging, they serve as a unique tool for self-awareness and preparation in the face of the unknown. The real ID can be understood as a part of the mind that reflects hidden thoughts, desires, and possibilities, often beyond the bounds of conscious awareness, logic, or morality. In moments of stress or conflict, this theoretical construct seems to surface ideas that may not only defy societal norms, but also frighten or confuse the individual themselves. These reflections, while unsettling, provide insight into the deeper and often unspoken layers of the human psyche. 3 layers of thought in stressful situations. To illustrate this concept, let us consider a hypothetical scenario where an individual experiences harassment or insult in the workplace. Their thoughts might unfold across 3 distinct levels. The first phase, public and acceptable reactions. These are the visible reactions that align with societal expectations. Ignoring the insult, let it go, it's not worth it. Emotional response, I'll calm myself with tears or by venting privately. The second phase, internal but controlled thoughts. These involve ideas that the person might entertain but would not express or act upon. Considering minor retaliation, I should insult them back. Contemplating small acts of revenge, maybe I'll make them realize their mistakes subtly. The third phase, reflections of the real ID. At this level, the real ID brings forth thoughts that are typically beyond the individual's conscious or moral boundaries. These ideas are often extreme and might even scare the person. If I see them on the street, I'll run them over with my car. I should grab the glass paperweight on my desk and hit them over the head. Once they leave, I'll smash their car windows in front of them and enjoy their shock and fear. Characteristics of real-eyed reflections. The thoughts surfaced by the real ID exhibit unique features that set them apart from those of other mental processes. Disregard for consequences. The real-eyed focuses solely on what is possible without concern for practical or moral outcomes. Blunt and unfiltered. These thoughts are raw and unrestrained, often lacking the polish or moderation seen in conscious thought. Frightening to the individual. Many of these reflections can be unsettling, leading the person to question their own sanity or morality. Varied in intensity. The content and severity of these thoughts differ based on the individual's experiences, upbringing, and level of awareness. The real-eyed and fear of the self. One of the most significant challenges posed by the real ID is the fear or discomfort it can create within the individual. A person may feel ashamed or guilty for having such thoughts. They might mistakenly label themselves as mentally unstable or abnormal for these reflections. However, it's essential to recognize that such thoughts within the scope of the real-eyed are a natural part of the human psyche. The difference lies in how individuals process and respond to these reflections. Some may acknowledge and integrate these thoughts as part of their inner world. Others may suppress or deny their existence entirely. For conclusion, the real ID, as a conceptual construct, surfaces thoughts that often transcend conventional boundaries of morality, awareness, and reason. These reflections, housed in the third face of the self, reveal a hidden and unacknowledged aspect of the human mind. While such thoughts may be alarming or unsettling, they represent a fundamental part of human nature that merits exploration and understanding. The real-eyed, a direct and unfiltered reflection of the human mind. The real ID may be described as a part of the mind that reflects the most immediate and honest thoughts. Unlike the conscious or logical mind, which analyzes and judges, the real-eyed accesses desires and emotions that emerge in the moment and projects them without any filters. This concept is rooted in the experiences of life's moments, presenting itself as vivid and transparent scenarios. Number 1. The immediate nature of the real ID in reaction to events. A defining feature of the real ID is its ability to respond instantly to events by creating thoughts that are neither commands nor analyzed reflections, but reconstructed experiences of the individual's inner moments. These reflections often carry a sense of satisfaction or fulfillment, but disregard moral, logical, or social consequences. Examples of the real-eyed in action. A mental image forms the moment the car hits them and they fall to the ground. A vivid reconstruction, the feeling of smashing a glass against their head and seeing it shatter. Another image, the moment I unleash my anger on them and they look stunned. These images appear as if they are real-time reconstructions of actions and their results, presented directly by the real ID. In these instances, the individual does not consciously deliberate or issue a command. Rather, they perceive an internal scenario where the act and its outcomes are vividly experienced. The real I creates scenarios without considering moral or social norms, amplifying a sense of immediate satisfaction. These reflections may conflict with the individual's ethical values, yet the relief or pleasure accompanying them stems from the depths of the subconscious. Why are these reconstructions so powerful? Vivid and realistic imagery. The real ID presents actions and their consequences in a way that feels tangible and immediate. Instinctual satisfaction. The thought of experiencing these moments creates a fleeting sense of relief or fulfillment. The importance of the real ID in understanding the human mind. The real ID, by revealing thoughts and emotions that often remain hidden in the deeper layers of the mind, plays a significant role in providing a deeper understanding of the human psyche. This concept focuses on the present moment, bypassing social and moral restrictions to offer a raw and genuine view of human nature. Despite its importance in understanding the human mind, the reflections of the real ID can also pose challenges. If individuals fail to manage these thoughts or distinguish between the real ID's projections and conscious decisions, it can lead to unpredictable or harmful behaviors. Potential risks: blurring real ID thoughts with real decisions. An inability to differentiate between the real ID's projections and rational decisions may result in unpredictable actions. The real ID as a concept that vividly and unfilteredly reflects the deep thoughts and emotions of the human mind offers a novel perspective on understanding human psychology. By transcending moral and social limitations, it presents a pure image of human responses to current life conditions. However, managing these reflections through awareness and reasoning is crucial for utilizing this aspect of the mind as a tool for self-awareness and personal growth.